But still on hold. Start podcast.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. This is week 6 of my 8-week free webinar course to create amazing consciousness and a greater way of living in a way that is congruent and serves you to the highest degree. Last week, I discussed and presented information about psychic vampires or psychic energy, empaths, not empathetic as an emotion, but empaths, and the energetic connection that they have. I want to extend on that presentation tonight in part 2. But tonight is going to be a little bit different and perhaps not as many slides because there's a bit more information to cover. That if you don't have a pen and paper, quickly go and grab it, because the first couple of slides, if you've already been on these webinars, are the same information about me, etc. So quickly grab a pen and paper. And if you want to write something that is particular to you and you find that you resonate with, you've got some bullet points down. Now, empaths, energetic connection, and chords is a subject that for me is super, it's of massive interest. I would call myself an empath and definitely have attracted and given out behaviors that now I look back and I think, well, really, where was my emotional and energetic state? But the beautiful thing about when we make mistakes or when we, do things that perhaps aren't serving others and ourselves to the highest value is that we can grow from them. And it's not excusing what we do, but, if we go through an experience that was negative, the only thing that you can take from it is, what is the lesson? How can you improve on that situation? And definitely, if you can repair some of the damage, it is your responsibility to be accountable for that. So let's get going into the presentation. Empaths, energetic connection and chords, part 2. Again, thank you very much for making the time to share this experience with me. I appreciate that. We have all very, very busy lives. Tomorrow for me is a 15-hour day, so I know what it is like to be stretched left, right, and center, and I'm sure that you've had days or weeks where you're stretched for time and resources. So I am very appreciative of the time that you make to be with me tonight. And again, the information that I present is of educational and general advice. I will say that, and I've said this before, but I do want to make it clear that everything that is presented in these webinars is my information of my own research, from experience, academic research, and training and professional training. So I'm very, very excited to bring you what I feel is authentic, genuine, honest, and my information. I take absolute responsibility for it, and I also take absolute credit for it 100%. Contact details for me, I do put that up regularly, but if you're like me, I get like 50, 60, sometimes up to 80 emails a day, and I just can't forget. I sent an assignment to my college today, an email today about an assignment that I had sent them 2 weeks ago, and that's just what email is like. It can happen. They forgot all about the assignment, so of course I had to resend it. And that's just technology. That's just what it is. We have to be patient and understanding. So if you've got those details, awesome. You know how to connect with me. And again, just some information about who I am. I won't go through all the points that are there. I've done that before. But just for you to know that I am authorized, registered, and licensed to do what I'm doing, and definitely from an experience, research, and training perspective. So again, that there is really for you to know a full disclosure of what I'm about. So I guess one of the things that I would like you to get from this information on empaths, psychic connections, and vampires, etc., is that we are all connected. There is no person out there that does not have some connection, some collective connection to other people. We give off vibes, we receive vibes. Little example, you get up, you have from a night's sleep, you haven't had good sleep, you get up, you're not in a great place, you're not in a great mood, you spill your coffee, you get red lights, your muffin is crappy, You get to work, there's problems, people aren't in a great place, and all of a sudden, before you know it, comes 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, you've had one of those days. And maybe we could say, well, okay, those things happen to you, but what vibe are you giving to others, and what vibe are you getting from others? And so it's like a domino effect. And whilst we can't stop the red lights and the coffee and the awful muffin, we can choose how we connect with those energies. I'm very, very conscious, or I try to be, particularly now at this stage of my professional career, to be very conscious of the people that come into my circle, the clients that I work with, and the activities that I'm involved in. Because if I'm not serving myself to the highest value, how can I serve others? How can I just be a nice person to get along with? And how can I be someone that people will want to be with and like? So it's not just about living with your purpose and passion. It's also just being, downright nice person, and getting along with others to the best that you possibly can. And if you look at where you are first, emotionally, psychologically, and mentally, well, that's the same thing. But you can do a check-in and say, well, you know what, I'm really not in a great place for this or that, or today's not a great day, so I need to really check in with myself. I have days when I shut myself off from things and people because I need to regroup, I need to re-energize, and I need to get myself back together collectively so I can be an awesome person to myself and like me and like what I do, and not feel I'm being dragged through life like I'm in a coma, or I've been beaten in some boot camp by some, disturbed personal trainer. I want to recap a little bit on this, a couple of slides only, but that is the definition for vampires. And again, it is a metaphor. It goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, of course. So the Twilight Zone and all those vampire movies, I'm really sorry, you're catching on a little bit late. Psychic vampirism, psychic energy has been around for thousands and thousands of years. You don't have to believe it if you don't want to. You don't even have to like it. It just is there. It is on a quantum physics, neuroscience level. And as you know, there's so much more information and research being done today to explore these areas of science. And they are definitely out there. They definitely affect our frequencies, our energies, our vibes, our emotions, and our way of interacting with one another. So again, it's a metaphor, nothing to do with the Twilight Zone movies. They do feed off our chi, our good energy, and they can be manipulators and schemers. Now, I want to make this very clear point, that when I refer to as a psychic vampire, I'm not talking about someone who has criminal or mental conditions only. I'm also referring to people, good people, wonderful people, have great heart and good intentions, that may not be in great place themselves because they've gone through different experiences, and they may not be consciously aware of the kind of behavior and actions that they are doing that is toxic. So that is a form of negative energy or psychic vampirism. And sometimes, good people just hurt others. So I want to make it clear that don't think that refers to people who are very obvious out there, the corrupt people, the politicians, the thieves, the murderers, the pedophiles. They're in a totally different level of vampirism that I won't even get into, but they're in such a dark place that they may not ever get out of. But there exists a very negative energy around people that they may not even be aware of. And we can kind of refer it to this sort of phrase, I just don't like that person and I don't know why. And I really like that person. There's just something about them that gravitates me to them. There's a certain sense of energy about them. They light up a room or they don't light up the room. So again, good people hurt other people through subconscious patterns that have been running for a long time. I want to go very quickly over the empath qualities. They're there for you. So just to cover what they are, it's not an emotion per se, although empathy is an emotion, and empaths tend to function in a high degree of empathy. In fact, really, the empaths function over function in empathy quality, and it's a detriment to them until they learn through their experiences that they do have to have safe boundaries because of their hypersensitivity and their third eye awareness. So I'll be touching a little bit on the third eye awareness. So it's great if you've got, you resonate with empath qualities. And I've said this before to people in my circle, that sometimes being an empath does not feel like a blessing. So I'm very private about what I do with my work, because I do put myself out there and I give 100%. I've got to be very congruent about the kind of boundaries I have, both personally and professionally, and that's something you want to be doing as well. Again, just a little bit more on empaths. And one of the things that I want to point out to you is that bottom point of trying to win approval by doing and giving. I've been accused of being an overgiver and way too generous, and I love to give, but at times I've overgiven, and I've had people do the same thing with me. You've got to find that boundary that is right there as well, because overgiving says something is running at a deeper level that's holding you back from being an authentic person. And I'm so fortunate to have had people in my life who have blessed me with their generosity. But now I'm very alert about generosity from people, because if it's an overgiving situation, there is something else running at a deeper level that they are not aware of. And what can happen when they try to give that generosity onto others and they don't want it or receive it, or they just feel uncomfortable, then the giver can have all sorts of things come up: abandonment, rejection, self-esteem, fears, insecurities. So something to watch out for. Codependent personalities, that's not necessarily restricted to empaths, but it is a common denominator of an empath personality. All right, I'm going to just go right past this slide because I want to move on. Okay, so beautiful picture there, beautiful diagram. We are all connected. We all have qualities in us. I'm very much about nature. Some of my friends are very much about other things. Someone else gravitates to the water. Someone else gravitates to other things. We all have dynamics that make up our personality and our psyche and way of being. And the beautiful thing about who we are and what we can be is that we are created imperfectly perfect. I couldn't care less about cooking a 3-course dinner for friends, really, like in the sense where I'm not going to get obsessed about it. I will do my best. I will certainly go out of my way to present the best 3-course meal that I can. But at the end of the day, you know what? I'm not going to become obsessed. It's just not my thing, and that's cool. But I've got people in my life that, they love it. They get off. It makes them happy. My daughter, who's a chef, just, to her, has to be this way, that way, perfect. That's her thing. That's what makes us all very unique. But I certainly appreciate the food. I certainly appreciate helping, and I certainly appreciate what it takes to put a 3-course meal down. And I'm giving you this example because it's quite loose. It's not specific and it's not personal. But if you talk to me about energies, if you talk to me about creating an exercise program, helping someone through supplements, helping them create a business, helping them clarify their purpose, I'm on the computer researching anything and everything I possibly can to help them have the right resources and tools to help them. That's why we are all connected. I need the person who can do the 3-course meal in my life, because that gives them joy to give and receive. And clients and friends need my energy to help them with supplements or nutrition or whatever, because that's my skill and my gift. It's not just a skill, it's a gift. So remember that opposites do attract, and we understand from the previous presentation how that can happen. High degrees of functioning at a high level of energy, they function at a Hertz frequency that is actually higher than average. And if you don't know much about Hertz frequency, that's really cool. I avoided putting that in there because it gets a little bit technical, a bit neuroscience, and I did have a table in there. I'm the nerd and I took it out. But for sure, you do resonate a frequency. Now, if we're referring to that in the chakra system, of course, that is, or an aura, then that's a light that we give off. Now, those Hertz frequencies emanate at a certain level, and those levels emanate a certain energy, and that energy is actually linked to a series of colors, which, as we know in the world of yoga and chakra and energies, is referred to as an aura. Now, remember that empaths are light. They are fundamentally light, but can function from dark places because they haven't expanded their consciousness to deal with their own stuff that's been buried for years and years. And that is the universal order. Vampires are dark and empaths are light. That's a basic sort of metaphor. Remember that each one of those opposites has good and has negative. And we are all connected through energy. Okay, so let's get into the chakra levels because I really, really love this subject. And I had 33 pages of notes, and I had a bit of a fit because I just couldn't make up my mind what I wanted to talk about. So the picture there is a picture of this female sitting in the traditional Om position, legs crossed. And if you have a look at the picture, yes, there's this beautiful yellow that radiates behind it, being pure energy. But have a look. Each chakra symbol has a specific symbol. Now, each one of those symbols means a certain thing. Starting from the base chakra, referred to as the root chakra, at the very base of the body, and it's probably close to the coccyx bone in your spine. As you know, you've got different vertebrae running from the neck right down to the very big bone at the bottom, which is called the coccyx bone, COCCYX. Not a very flattering word, so whoever came up with that word, I don't know, maybe they're having a bit of a bad night, but definitely could have come up with something a little bit more appealing. Nonetheless, it's called the root chakra at the base of the spine along the coccyx bone. Now, this picture there shows a little bit more of the colors and a little bit more of the symbols. And if you have a look at the crown color on the top of this man's head, we'll assume it's a male, a very feminine male, it is a purple. And as I mentioned a minute or two ago, that our frequencies that are referred to as Hertz frequencies, they resonate at a certain level with a certain color. And purple is the higher frequency on that chakra level. So this table, it's not the clearest, but it really is a good table because it describes the chakras very simply. Now, trust me, I've got 35 pages of chakra information. So I've decided that this particular table is very simple and can give you some very basic information. Whether you know a lot or you know a little bit, it doesn't really matter. I know a lot and I don't know everything, but I can always continue to learn. Look at the root chakra: red, fire, earth, physical identity, preservation. It is our physical body. It is our survival. It is our past impressions, our genetics, our DNA. Chakras are very subtle. It's not like this Thor coming down from heaven with his hammer. They work very subtly in our bodies and in our psyches and environment. So we talk about root chakra when we behave in primitive survival kind of instincts, the fight or flight, the fears, the insecurities, the just not knowing, when we've got traumas that have been trapped in our body. These are the sort of things that actually get trapped in the root chakra. Now, if you've never had a chakra healing or a Reiki healing, and I do Reiki healings, and I'm very happy to give you distant healing, Reiki distant healing. That would be my pleasure to do it for free for you. I know people charge, I don't, but if you definitely want to come and see me for a Reiki healing directly, then that would be a chargeable service. But physical identity: who are you? What are you? Are you operating from survival instincts of fear or insecurities or rejection, abandonment, or self-esteem, or undergiving, overgiving, hate, overloving, no boundaries? And they're the sort of primitive sort of levels of emotions that we have to do a check-in. And by the way, nobody ever arrives at the crown chakra permanently. We are all in a process of evolution. So if someone says to you, well, I just work in the third eye all my life, you want to ask them what they're taking, because we all continue to grow and evolve. And, you may go through something and learn from it, but you don't know if you're complete through that process. And there may be something there that's still stuck in your psyche and emotions that needs to come up. And this happened to me recently. I had a situation where I was challenged and I got triggered, and it involved people and it involved something from my past. Now, instead of spending a month or a year or years in the problem, I recognized it, I dealt with it, and it didn't cause me grief or anxiety, or too much anyway. And I now have my peace and my love and serenity. Now, was it uncomfortable? Completely. Was it something that was triggered from my past? Absolutely. And that's what happens. We continuously evolve. Water, the sacrum, orange, emotional identity, self-gratification. It's wonderful to have things that we want, and we aspire to, but where are we in those things? Where is our desire, our emotions, our creativity, our healing, our intuition? We've got to do those little check-ins, because sometimes we get so self-absorbed that we kind of close ourselves in. So really allowing yourself to expand. If you're a creative person, expand that creativeness. If you function in intuition like I do, expand it, help others, explore yourself outside of your own sphere of being. Solar plexus, ego, identity, self-definition, ambition, intellect, personal power, and protectiveness. Do you close yourself in when stuff happens, or do you go, you know what? I don't like this, but I'm going to check it out and see what it means and then work through it, like I did when I got triggered. I didn't like it. I certainly wasn't happy, and it triggered my stomach and all sorts of physical, unhappiness. But I need to check it out. I need to say, hey, you know what? I need to understand what's going on here, because this can hold me back from being a happy person, and I'm not going to let it. So really, what's going on? The heart and lung, that is the color green, that's the element of air, social identity and acceptance. And the heart is beautiful. It's all about love. I love the heart chakra, of course, located in the center of the chest. Love, compassion, universal consciousness, emotional balance. And as you can see, that as the chakra levels tend to rise, you see clarity and purity in those colors. Red's not necessarily dark color. It's a very intense color. It can be very fiery in the positive, but when we're referring to the chakra levels and chakra systems, it is very much about primitive survival mechanisms. All right, throat chakra. Now, I am predominantly a throat chakra. Obviously, what am I doing? I'm talking to you out there. I'm looking at a computer, but I know you're there. My computer tells me X, Y people are on the webinar. So I am talking. I spend a lot of my time talking. It's my job. I love to do it. I could talk for hours, as my friends know. I am very much about the throat chakra, creating creative identity and self-expression. But here's the thing, that I can use my gift and ability to uplift, to encourage, to exhort, motivate, and help others. I can also use it to destroy others through insults, demeaning, devaluing, criticism, judgments, backstabbing. I can use my gift to hurt others. And even if they're not in the room and hearing my insults or comments, you better believe it that they will pick up that energy sooner or later. And so I need to be very careful that my mouth says what I want it to say, to influence in the positive. Do I get it right all the time? No. Do I pick myself up? Yes. Am I working through that? Absolutely. And I pick myself up and I say, Marie, you just shut up. If you have nothing good to say, you need to put a zip on it and get back to business, because you have no business talking about so and so that way, because you've got no idea what's going on in their life. And I really want to say that too, because there seems to be a trend out there. We talk about people behind their back, when we really need to say it's nobody's business what goes on, because we don't know what happens in their life and we don't know what they've been through. So I'm very conscious of doing my best with my mouth. And as you can see, the element is sound. Of course, because you need to hear it so you can not only hear what I'm saying, but feel what I'm actually saying to you. Third eye, indigo, light, archetypal identity, and self reflection. I function there a lot in my profession. And I also do, I guess, when I say expose, I make myself available to get input from things I can't see, hear, and feel, and touch and taste, to be able to receive so I can help myself and help others. So, third eye is a lot about spiritual awareness, psychic power, psychic gift, intuition, and light. Very much about dreams, astral travel, transcendental meditation, knowing things. Um, you know, I give you a little story, a little, example, and for those that this is a little bit out there, I make no apology. This is very much important element of our being. So, a little example. I had a dream a couple of weeks ago about certain things, and certain people were involved in those dreams, and it wasn't a very positive dream. Now I have a responsibility to give that over to the light, pray for them, minister for them, pray for protection for them, pray that, they are looked after and they're safe, because we've all got responsibilities, and sometimes, we can't help people by, directly, but if you get something about someone and you feel like, you know what, they're not doing well, whatever, minister to them, send them up in light. So what I did is I sent them healing, I sent them my well-being, my intentions of love, and I've just got to give that up to the universe. I've got to give that up to the highest power, because they're people that, they're on their journey, and I can only do my best for them at this point where I am, and hope that my influence through energy will have an impact into their well-being and life. So, whether you believe it or you don't believe it, I make no apology for it. It is what it is. There are things in the world that we do not understand, and I will say that if you very much about, if this sort of thing interests you, there is so much evidence out there in science that is clear that we were not, or we are not, the only beings of existence in the universe. And no matter what movie you watch, whether it's Avatar, Martians, whatever, aliens, we are not alone. So there's lots of science out there, and interestingly, a little bit of tidbit trivia for you. I did study in Bible. I did actually complete Bible studies many, many years ago, because I was very interested in all things kind of out there. And the first and the second verse in the book of Genesis, translated in the what is referred to as the Hebrew Chaldean, which is older than Hebrew, so pre-Hebrew known as the language today, or pre-Jewish language. They were written, the first and the second verse were written in numbers and symbols, and the meaning of the second and the first verse is completely different. In fact, the implication is that there existed an earth before us here. And you can say it's dinosaurs or apes or flying creatures or whatever, but there is a gap in the history between verse 1 and verse 2. So a little bit of stuff out there for you, trivia for you. And the crown, that's the violet. It's the universal identity. It is the enlightenment, the cosmic consciousness, energy, and perfection. Honey, no one on this planet will ever get there. We are all on a journey, but we should all aspire to grow in these areas. They're very, very important. And you might say, well, I don't believe in chakras. I don't believe in any of this. Okay, cool. But you still want to aspire to be a person of congruency, of authenticness, be a happy person, have a great life. So whether you do or don't, or understand it or don't understand it, doesn't really matter. The fact is that we should all aspire to grow in our existence from where we are to where we want to go. And that journey will take you the rest of your life here. So If I'm happy now, I want to find other ways of being happy. If I do a great job with my clients now, I want to find an even better way to help my clients faster and better, because it's about evolution both for us and with others. So now it's a little hard to see this particular slide, but I wanted to keep the colors from the chakra system from here and here and here, and I wanted to keep those colors. So to recap, first element, it's earth, physical body, survival, past impressions, DNA, caveman, fight or flight, survival, I can't handle this, gotta run. Second element, water, physical vitality, sex, desire, earthly emotions. Hey, there's nothing wrong with any of that. We are human, there we are tripartite being, spirit, soul and body, tripartite. Third element, fire, will, personal power, perseverance, and emotions. Fourth element, air, love, surrender, balance, acceptance, and devotion. Fifth element, ether, communication, expression, higher will. Sixth, subtle element, mind, seeing, inner vision, intuition, and comprehension. Comprehension not only on a logical level, but on a spiritual and intuitive, empathic level. Seventh subtle element is intelligence, God consciousness, spiritual intelligence. If God does not work for you, by all means change that to whatever higher power you believe in. Okay, so I've put here, I took the colors out to make it easy to read. The first level chakra, which is the base, Muladhara, is the color red. Some of the stones that are relative to this particular chakra, there are a lot of stones, but of particular these ones, tiger's eye and black obsidian. And I say black obsidian because in Australia we don't have a lot of varieties to obsidians. For example, I have obsidian, which is a bluish purple. I didn't get it from Australia, but it is still obsidian. I have a green, no, I have a yellow emerald. Again, not purchased in Australia, but it is an emerald, but it is just a color yellow. The second chakra, sacral, that is Swastika or Swastihastana. It is orange carnelian. Not an easy stone to buy, but check out eBay. I'm sure you will find it on eBay. You can find just about anything on eBay these days around the world. And I've bought stones from Colombia, from where else? From India, from United Kingdom, where else? From Peru, from Japan. So I have bought them from all places around the world, from Barcelona, so even from Spain and from Morocco. From Morocco, I actually have blue-green obsidian as well. So that came from the cave, from the mountains out in the desert. Okay, third level chakra, the solar plexus, Manipura. That's yellow aventurine. Don't worry about writing this down. I'm happy to send it to you. Fourth chakra is the heart, Anahata, green, pink, rose quartz. Now, as I said, these are just some of the stones. Rose quartz, sold in tree of life, pretty accessible. It's a very common stone. It's in surplus availability. Fifth chakra, Vishuddhi is a light blue, a blue lace agate, not to be confused with lapis lazuli. It is a very light blue. I had one on today actually because I wanted to make sure that I flowed in my throat chakra, so I had a blue lace agate. A sixth level chakra, Ajna or Jana indigo. That's a beautiful, beautiful stone. It's a dark blue, and I'm going to try and pronounce that. Dumortierite. That's it. I'm going to have one shot at that. And of course, the seventh crown, Sasharara, white, violet, amethyst. Who doesn't like amethyst? I have beautiful orbs of amethyst, and what an orb is obviously a round stone. So I have round stones which are referred to as orbs, or like the crystals you see in movies. I have pure amethyst, I have clear quartz, I have tiger's eye, I have black obsidians, and I also have onyxes. So, and I'll give you a couple of others here, just for you to know. The base chakra, you can also get hematite and smoky quartz. Smoky quartz is nice. It's a really unusual color. The sacral chakra, you can also get blue, green, turquoise, which is really beautiful. Third chakra, citrine and yellow jasper. That's another beautiful stone. The fourth, you can get malachite and jade. Who doesn't like jade? Throat, you can get blue calcite and blue turquoise as well. So third eye is lapis lazuli, and I have a few lapis lazuli ornaments. I have stones lapis lazuli. I have an angel lapis lazuli. I brought my daughter an angel made of lapis lazuli from Colombia, little one. She paid for it, but it's beautiful, and that's protection. It's also psychic protection for her. And the crown, well, you can get white topaz as well, which my daughter has. So some of the stones, check them out. They really are beautiful stones. And if anything, they just look really lovely on, and they make a nice table piece anyway. Cool. That is the chakra level, and you can now see the symbols of the chakra. Interestingly, have a look at the non-complexity of the crown chakra. Such unison, there's no distinct symbol per se, and that's intentional because by the time we get there, and probably not even on this earth, then we certainly can flow at times in that crown chakra, but it's a state we flow in. That look at the circle within the circle, complete connection, complete connectiveness, and in the middle, one circle of white light or light. All things connected beautifully, lovingly into its perfection. And that's how it is. And well, I will never get there. I will never be there. Hey, cool. But it doesn't stop you from aspiring to grow in where you are to where you want to go. So again, from the bottom, survival, sexuality, power, love, communication, intuition, and spirituality. They're just beautiful colors, beautiful symbols. They do have Ayurvedic and ancient meanings. I won't go in that tonight because I'd have to get into my 35 pages of notes. Right, now I want to move into the energetic cord connection, and they really come under two chakras, the base chakra and the sacral chakra. And the symbols I've put there for you. So the base chakra, again, along the coccyx bone, stability, grounding, physical energy, will, security, primal needs, survival, insecurities, and belonging. And the sacral chakra, connection with others, motivation, blame, guilt, relationships, creativity, control, and morality. Please note there are positives and negatives in each of the chakras. Now, you might say, well, why is that interesting? And maybe you might think, well, what's the big deal with that? We all have positive and negative aspects to our being. I need stability. That is just a thing about me. I need to be very stable and grounded as a person. So if I'm not stable and grounded as a person in whatever I'm doing, you can bet I am functioning from a root chakra of primitive survival mechanisms. But I also have enormous amounts of physical energy, and I have an enormous amount of will. But yes, I have insecurities, and I do need to feel a sense of belonging. So again, the balance, the positive and the negative. Connection with others from the sacral chakra. I am a people person. I love being around people, but sometimes I just want my solitude and I want my quiet. And if I don't get it, I start blaming, I start doing the guilt trip, I start going on the control and the need to just, mechanisms of control. So as much as I love all things being with people and relationships, and I'm a very creative person, of course I am, I'm doing this webinar, I also need to make sure that I don't function from control and blame or guilt, because it's nobody's responsibility to make me feel good except mine. Okay. Cutting the cord. This is an important thing, and there are lots of examples and lots of different ways to cut the cord. I do this one because it's very simple. It's not intense. I don't need a lot of, I don't need a lot of things, but it's just very simple. So let's go through it very quickly. Find a quiet place. I've put music in candle and healing oils. Sometimes I don't even get there. Sometimes I don't even do that. But to make the scene perfect, I light some candles, I put on some music. It sets the atmosphere. It calms my nervous system down. It relaxes my muscles. It allows more objective process of what I'm doing, and my mind doesn't go into a fight or flight. So there is a purpose to all of this, and let's really, cut these people some slack because they really are functioning from a very healthy, intuitive, spiritual perspective. And I love all things music and candles and healing oils. I'm such a junkie for that. But if you don't have it, you don't have it, and it's really, really cool. But you can definitely put your iPod or iPhone or whatever and have some really relaxing music. Whatever music you appreciate. Set an intention. What's your intention with what you're going to do with cutting of the cord? Are you coming from a place where you're cranky, where you resent, where you're judging? Are you coming from a place where you're angry? To cut a cord, you want to be in the right place mentally and emotionally. I can't cut the cord when I have anger or hate or resentment in my heart. It's just not going to work because I'm thinking about the things in that person. So you want to be able to say, hey, you know what? I'm calm, I'm cool, I've got my space. My intention is to cut the cord because of these reasons, and I'm going to do it from a place of love. Must be from a place of love. You will not succeed in cutting a cord, and you will not help yourself or the other person when you are not in the right space mentally and emotionally. It just won't work because you're still caught up on negative, toxic, primitive emotions about what they did, what they didn't do, why did they do that, and they should have done this and shouldn't have done that, and I can't believe they did this, and I just can't stand them anymore, the rah, 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 and we just can't work at that way when we are trying to cut the cord. Okay, and in saying that, you may need to cut the cord more than once. I've had to cut the cord more than once, sometimes 5, 6 times because I allow things to come back into my life, or I've not cut the cord properly, or stuff's come up with me that I really need to deal with. So, cutting the cord is not a permanent thing. Okay. Death is permanent. Cutting the cord, something you may have to revisit a few times. Ask your high power to come into your energy. I invoke my energies, my angels, my divine power, my goddess. I invoke all the deities that serve me to my highest good to help me through my process. And I make no shame or no apology for that because I want it to be done in a place of love from my heart. Okay? Particularly as I'm going to be speaking words out, my throat chakra needs to be spoken in a place of love. Get calm, get relaxed. You don't have to sit in a specific pose. You can lie down and do it in the beginning. You can sit up and do it. It's really not so much about the right position as it is at least a comfortable position. Visualize the person that you have a negative charge over. So for me, with the incident that I mentioned earlier, I had a charge or a trigger. I had to deal with it. Now, I didn't need to cut the cord. I just needed to assess and really understand what dynamics were playing. And when I visualized the person, yeah, stuff came up for me. Why did they do that? Why didn't they do this? They should have done this. They should have done that. When I analyzed it and obviously worked through it, well, it was a little bit of them, but it was a lot about me. It was about my stuff that was junk that I needed to deal with. And you know what? I told them. I said, this came up for me. And I got to tell you, at first it was 100% you, but as I worked through it, it became about 10% you and about 90% me. They were like, wow, I avoided an argument, I avoided a conflict, and I kept the harmony and I grew. And man, I feel so good that I was able to walk in love and pull myself in, check my head in, and deal with it. So visualize the person you have a negative charge over. Now, I say visualize a sword in your hand because I do have Japanese samurai swords. Just chillax. I have them. They're ornamental. And I use them in my Reiki. I use them in my meditation. And I use them to cut the cords. And I also work with clients to teach them how to do that. So I do have samurai swords that are ornamental. But if you don't have one, cool. You can just visualize it in your mind's eye and say, I now cut and release all cords of this relationship to X, and I cut from the top and to the bottom, and I visualize the experience. And sometimes I just do it 2 or 3 times. I don't know why. Maybe it's a security thing I have, but I just do it a few times. And I say goodbye, I release and let you go. And you may even want to add, I release and let you go in love. If you can't say in love, that's cool. Don't say it, but at least verbally vocalize goodbye, I release you. Take a few deep breaths and just sit there. Just sit there in that pose and ask for pure love to minister to you. And then take time out to nurture yourself. A very simple strategy, anytime, anywhere, and you don't need to put a lot of thought and process. You don't have to have all the candles, music, and oils and the sword. If you've got it, great. If you want to go out and buy it, cool. I encourage you to have those things around you because they do make you feel good and it makes the process a lot more harmonizing. So I hope you've got that. If you haven't, that's cool. Check out the recording when I send it to you over the weekend. So that's kind of where I want to leave it. It is a decision time for you. Now, I've had a few some feedback that some people have had difficulty, or I've certainly not received some of the feedback. I apologize. I definitely would have responded. I make it a priority to respond to emails within 48 hours. So if you haven't heard back from me, drop me a text message or an email because there's more than likely a reason for it. It is not my character to not reply. Anybody that knows me that I always reply. So if I don't reply to feedback, please send me a text message or a private email because for sure there would be a reason. Action changes things. I'm going to make this really clear and put out there, and I make no apology. If you're listening to these webinars and you're getting my newsletters and you are not taking some action somewhere in your life, then you're kidding yourself. You're just kidding yourself. I'm sorry. No, actually, I'm not sorry. Because this is just information. For me, it's information based on research, experience, and training because I'm living it, I'm walking it, and I'm breathing it. And I know I've got stuff to work on, and I'm prepared to work on myself quite hard to achieve those things in my life. And it takes time, energy, and money. So I really encourage you to decide to do something that will benefit you from this information. I want to thank all of the people that allowed me to use the information and graphics for this presentation. And of course, I want to make a special note to my amazing daughter who believes in me, my wonderful partner, my cats who I adore, and I squish them with lots of hugs and kisses because they're a part of my life. They're just little funny furry creatures, but I love them. So I want to thank you very much for your for allowing me the opportunity to use the information and resources. So what are you waiting for? You've got to do something. You really do hold the key to your freedom. You do. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you don't know what you're doing, and maybe you don't right now know what you're doing with where you are, but you can make a decision to do something about that, okay? Remember, if you've survived your experiences so far, they've served you for a purpose. It's now time to turn those experiences to your better lifestyle living. Awesome. So I encourage you to connect with a professional, someone that can be there to help you professionally or personally because we are not an island. We do need people. Contact details for me. So again, if you've sent me feedback and I haven't replied, I'm working my way through all the technology. I can assure you it was mindful to navigate. It's not my highest, joy to the technology, but I'm speaking to you from a brand new computer, and all things are improving. I can only get better. So I do appreciate your patience, and I take it very personally when things don't go right, something that I'm working on because I say I'm a reformed perfectionist. Do you like that? I like that. So if you do have questions, please connect with me. I love questions. Love, love, love questions because I can use my knowledge and experience to help others. contact details. So if you'd like more information, let me know. I did send out the webinar recording on Monday or Friday, I can't remember, and I also sent out rejection newsletter part 1, and part 2 will go out next week. I'm filtering it so you're not bombarded with a lot of information, because honestly I have tons of information. I'm just conscious of not overloading people with too much information at once. That's a picture of my daughter. She's stunning, 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 and that's my pride and joy baby. I will call her my baby until well, for a very long time. And even when she does become a mummy in her own right, she'll still be my number one baby. So that's my baby. And that is me on the right. Not me presently, because I've taken a bit of a sit back from training for a while. I had a pretty bad cold earlier this year which knocked me about for a couple of months on and off. But that was me, and back in sort of February, I think, February, March. Then I got a pretty bad virus. But I'm back into the swing of things, and so much so that I think I clocked up 78 kilos on a deadlift recently, or about 80 kilos on the deadlift. So I'm definitely on my way back up. It is possible, and I am over 50. So that's not a photo from 10, 15 years ago. That is a photo taken around January or February, I think. So absolutely possible to change. You just have to want it. That life-changing strategy with me, some of the things that I cover, and if your particular circumstance is not there, cool, that's okay. I've tried to put the most sort of obvious things, but if your situation is unique, which it would be, then that is something we can work on. Next week's webinar and the next 2 weeks actually will be on creating emotional and nutritional awareness. I'm going to talk about stress and the relation it has with cortisol. I'm also going to talk about nutrition and supplementation. If you're not supplementing your diet, you are missing out on vitamins and minerals and all the necessary things that your muscles need to repair and recover. So you want to connect to that, because it is very much something that I believe, good nutrition and supplementation. In my home, we supplement with Isagenix. I swear by it. It's definitely helped my menopause conditions, and I can assure you this picture was taken when I was supplementing. So do I live off shakes? Absolutely not. Do I have chocolate? Absolutely. Do I have a glass of wine here and there? You better believe it, I do. So physical and emotional eating. What's physical eating? What's emotional eating? I know you know it, but let's explore it a little bit more in detail. Exercise. I cannot possibly cover all forms of exercise, and I cannot possibly prescribe programs. It's just not logistically possible on a webinar of 1 hour, but I will explore concepts around exercise and metabolism. Even supplements can affect metabolism. So I want to thank you very much. I'm so proud that I actually finished within the hour today, because I really am very honored to do what I'm doing. There are 2 more weeks left of this webinar, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do something that I'm very, very passionate about. So I want to thank you very much for being on this webinar. If you haven't been live on the webinar, no sweat, I will send you the recording. And again, if you don't hear from me directly through feedback you've sent me, I'm still navigating through the technology. Please send me an email or a text message. I make it my business to respond. So have an awesome evening, and I will look forward to your company next week. Bye for now.